Banksy, Britain's uncatchable criminal. Let's see how uncatchable he is.
Let's start with a simple question.
So for people who don't know, who is Banksy?
Besides the most famous, notorious, captivating, and controversial artist alive. If you asked me that question a couple of months ago, I would have thrown anonymity into that long list as well. But unfortunately, times change.
But now, a series of court cases, including one launched this week in Australia, could change everything.
You see, for a long time, over 3 decades in fact, no one knew who Banksy was. No one knew a name or a face. The man was like a ghost. It's one of the main factors that made him so successful, and even he'd admit that.
If people knew who he was, his artworks probably wouldn't be worth as much.
Works by the mystery street artist Banksy sell for tens of millions of dollars, boosted by speculation about his identity.
Both to give him the freedom to do what he wants to do and the freedom not to have to do things like this.
Like what?
Like this, be on the radio, do press.
Yeah, no, that's a good fact, man. That's a good fact. I lived around London for a long time. He's super famous. Everyone knows him. A lot of people have like seen a Banksy as well, because he just puts them on like random buildings or random walls, or like you can stumble across one 100%. And it's kind of obvious when he does them. So this is a fun fact. So they talk about like the fact that they sell for tens of millions of dollars, whatever, and it's great. Original Banksy is worth so much money. It's insane. But what's also worth money is when he's making a lot of his artworks is he'll like zip tie a massive white tarpaulin over the section of wall that he's painting, and then in the end he'll just cut the zip ties off and like run away. Okay, now people go up and they collect those cut zip ties, and those zip ties sell for like tens of thousands of pounds each. Okay, that's the level of fame and adoration people have for this guy. Okay, he's not just some random kid who's like painting stuff on walls and like making stuff look silly. He's actually like a genuine real artist that people care so much about. And that kind of stuff is insane. Like those stories about the zip ties, when I heard that, was mad. But definitely the anonymity of him is what makes him so great as well, because he can plaster whatever he wants on the wall and people take it as their own meaning. Whereas if they know you, they're like, oh yeah, well, he's slightly left leaning, he's slightly right leaning, this probably means this means this. He puts out what he wants and you kind of derive the meaning from there, which is really cool. I like it.
Let's go back to the simple question of, who is Banksy? And I say simple because it used to be the opposite, until countless British journalists started painting his real identity on every blank wall for a few extra clicks. Pest Control Limited, aka Banksy's company, has been accused of defamation and is now being called to court.
We've so far had 6 decisions out of the 7 that we started. All 6 of those were wins, complete wins, with costs against Banksy. Banksy's yet to pay those costs. We might even take action to bankrupt him.
The first legal defendant.
Why is he laughing? That's just what? Who is? I don't even know who that guy is, but he seems like a real like piece of work. Honestly, he's like, oh yeah, we might just bankrupt him. Ha 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 ha. Honestly, what's he doing? Get out of here. I mean, look, okay, understand Banksy is this anonymous figure and he breaks the law because he paints on people's walls, but those walls become like 100 times more valuable because they have a piece of art on it. And a lot of the time, councils, which is like a very local form of government in the UK, councils will like choose to keep those up because they're like, wow, it's a Banksy. People come and like see this all over the world. It almost becomes a tourist attraction if you have a Banksy. There are places that fake having Banksys on the wall, as in like mimic the art and try and attract people because of that. So to act like people hate it or people are like disgusted by it, sure, of course, you always have haters. But most normal people and even most like very local governments realize how cool that is to have a Banksy artwork. Okay, so these huge corporations who are just giggling about trying to bankrupt the guy, I don't like it at all. I think that's horrendous, really.
Usually, criminals who are most notorious are the easiest to catch. Usually.
The graffiti artist known as Banksy is setting his sights on New York. He plans to spend the rest of the month making the city his canvas.
October 1st, 2013, midnight. Away from home, Banksy planned to terrorize the streets of the Big Apple for an entire month, creating a new piece of art every 24 hours. illegally, of course.
You never lied to me. To have to sit here.
Night 1. Fittingly, Banksy starts his escapade by painting 2 kids grabbing a spray paint can out of a sign that reads, "Graffiti is a crime."
I had no choice.
Once this piece was confirmed to be by the man himself, all hell broke loose. Citizens
How do you actually do that? Like, how do you confirm it's from Banksy himself? Okay, because let me be more detailed with this. What I'm getting at here. Okay, I know I just spoke about how people fake it. So the reason I know that is because I used to live in a small town, basically, and someone faked a Banksy on one of the walls in the center of the town. Okay. And then there was this whole thing about like, oh my goodness, is it real? He come and visit us on the night. I say like Christmas, all right? Like people were going crazy about it. And then apparently they figured out it was fake. But my question is like, how do you figure that out? Is it the art style? Is there a signature on the bottom of it? Like when they spray paint or something? Or does the guy just release it on like a secret website or something that, oh yeah, well, I made this one. I did not make this one, blah, blah, blah. So that's just a point of interest I have, to be honest. But anyway, he's in New York. Spray paint's a very cool piece, in my opinion. Night 1, let's see the rest.
of New York started going block to block just to find his next piece of work. And the NYPD would begin to run around like headless chickens, trying to catch Banksy in the act.
To be honest, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity because the thing is they're here and then they're gone.
Night 5. Banksy creates a scenic jungle environment in the back of a dirty abandoned white truck. He dubbed it the Mobile Waterfall. Night 13. A stall was set up in Central Park, managed by an old man. The only thing for sale was 100% original signed Banksy canvases for $60 each, meaning countless people passed up on $60 art that now sells for hundreds of thousands. Night 31. On the final day, Banksy recreated his bubble tag with real balloons near an exit sign, signifying his departure from New York. A perfect way to end his vacation and a successful NYPD escape.
Well, that's actually a sick exit. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. Just spray painting your name on a huge side of a wall, letting everyone know. I mean, you know, he's got style. He's cool. He's a really cool guy. I mean, you know, yeah, I can't hate on him too much.
Banksy had started to gain quite a reputation, and in spring of 2006, the artist flew to LA, where he would meet a man named Terry, a man who had dedicated his life to documenting some of the world's biggest street artists.
He was like more than any drugs to anybody. He was obsession.
And now, Terry was a man who had the opportunity to show Banksy the best spots to hit in LA.
I was in downtown Los Angeles one day. My phone rings. Hello? Hello, this is Shepard Ferry. How you doing, Terry? Yeah, do you have any wall? Because I have Banksy here and I would like, and I said, what? You have who? I'm like, yeah, there is Banksy here. And I'm like, where are you? I drive you if you need to go anywhere. I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything and anytime.
Terry made himself
I'm not doing anything anytime, my friend. I'm all yours. Hey, I mean, that guy must have been having the best day of his life. He's obsessed with like street art and graffiti and stuff. And then one of the greatest graffiti artists calls him up and says, "I need your help to paint." I mean, yeah, of course he'll drop you everything. I mean, it's like an NBA fan being called up by Michael Jordan saying, "Oh, I need to know the closest place to play some basketball." I mean, you're saying yes. I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, that's great. Good for him. It's like a dream come true. So I wonder why he was in the US so much. You know, he went to New York and then he went to LA. Like, I thought he was mainly UK based. I mean, I've definitely seen a bunch of his stuff around UK. It turns like, you know, not in person, but just like in the news and stuff. So yeah, wow, okay. I guess he likes going to America. I mean, why not? It's probably better weather.
Indispensable to Banksy, and in return, Banksy let Terry document his process for the foreseeable future, even in his escapades back in England.
I always avoided cameras because what I do is in a bit of a legal grey area, but I brought Terry over to London because it seemed like a good idea to start videoing the work. I mean, we had to because, you know, a lot of it was starting to disappear the next day.
I first started to hear about Banksy when I was a little kid. Since half of my family grew up and still lives in Banksy's hometown Bristol, I became aware of his antics fairly quickly. I thought his artwork was great, but I didn't fall in love with what he was doing through his graffiti. I fell in love with what he was doing through his documentary, Exit Through the Gift Shop. After numerous months of Terry following Banksy around, it was finally time to convert those countless boxes of tapes into the documentary Terry envisioned all those years ago. 6 months later, Terry presented Banksy with a 1 hour and 30-minute movie he called Life Remote Control.
Peace to the whole world. You have to keep an eye on the big picture.
I told him I'd never seen anything like it, and I wasn't lying about that. Yeah, I was faced with that terrible thing when somebody shows you their work and everything about it is shit, so you don't really know where to start.
No way. He hated it. Oh no, poor Terry. What do you even say? Oh, Terry, man. That must be such a stinker. Oh, I should. I don't know what's. I wouldn't know what to say either. I mean, showing the film and it's just like, oh no, this stinks. To be honest, mate. Like, I mean, I guess these artist types are kind of unique. They always have the way they want everything done the way they like it specifically. But I mean, I don't know. I think if you ask someone to make a documentary about you, and then they go ahead and make said documentary, I mean, they're the documentarians, so maybe they know what's good. But I don't know. Obviously, Banksy did not like it, so I wonder if they scrapped it or they kind of just reworked it. So hopefully they reworked it. I'm sure it wasn't that bad.
After Banksy convinced Terry to leave the tapes with him in hopes of creating the street art documentary he dreamed of, Exit Through the Gift Shop started production. Terry went off to become a successful artist himself, going by the name Mr. Brainwash, and Banksy made the early decision to flip the script. Instead of making himself and his peers the main subjects of the documentary, he opted to make Terry's journey through the underground world of graffiti the main focus. One of the smartest decisions I've ever seen made in a doc.
Well, the film is the story of what happened when this guy tried to make a documentary about me, but he was actually a lot more interesting than I am, so now the film is kind of about him. I mean, it's not Gone with the Wind, but there's probably a moral in there somewhere.
I ended up finishing the documentary more interested in Banksy than anything else. This is just one example of Banksy's intentions working against him. Most art critics hate him, which is why most normal people like him. Yet despite his criticism of the modern art world, unfortunately, most normal people can't afford a $500,000 spray painted wall. The more Banksy attempts to criticize...
It's an interesting point. Sorry, I'm just going to cut him off here, but it's an interesting point here that he makes where, you know, it's because the authority hates him that the people love him. You know, like, you can't have both. And then Banksy, again, making Theory the main character of the documentary, builds the interest in Banksy himself. So, yeah, I mean, there are intentions being flipped here, but at the same time, it's also what do you expect? Because Terry was so interested in Banksy, so interested in street art, that by falling in love with the main character, by watching the main character of the documentary, which is Terry, you appreciate and learn to love his passions, which is the street art itself. So, of course, you're going to go through Terry's journey with him and then look out for Banksy. So, you know, I do feel this was kind of a predictable thing to happen. But at the same time, I also get the fact that, like, you know, Banksy's a bit of a selfless guy. He doesn't show his face. He doesn't. I'm assuming, I don't know, but I'm sure he doesn't make too much profit from his artwork. I think You know, he doesn't sell any of it, I don't think. He's anonymous. And, you know, he's a criminal. So he's putting himself in a lot of danger to let people know about things that are happening in the world, or just, like, you know, paint some cool stuff on some walls. And I like that. I definitely like that a lot. It's a lot better than some modern art people nowadays who just put absolutely, like, modern art, I absolutely don't understand. Just complete rubbish in some art gallery and then just sell it on for a few $1 million. I mean, that's completely lost on me. I much more appreciate Banksy stuff, or, you know, even the old artists where it was like actual skill and beauty came into making artwork. So, but that's just me going off on a little bit of a tangent. So that's enough.
Banksy is not. Banksy is Banksy. A man who once said, "Imagine a city where graffiti wasn't illegal. A city where everybody could draw whatever they liked. Where every street was awash with a million colours and little phrases. Where standing at a bus stop was never boring. A city that felt like a party where everyone was invited, not just the estate agents and barons of big business. Imagine a city like that, and then stop leaning against the wall. It's wet."
That's very funny. That's very funny. I mean, look, I kind of understand it to a degree. You look around the world, you look at modern architecture, and it's just, you know, concrete walls, kind of bleak, kind of bland. So a little bit of artwork would always be lovely, and I can appreciate that, and I can 100% go for it. However, if you just completely let people unleash, you're going to get a whole lot of bad artwork. And, you know, sometimes architects just need to be left alone to do their thing, because architects and buildings can be built in a way they're just beautiful without being plastered full of paint. So, you know, two sides to the coin. You can fall either way, but I'm a little bit more middle ground of the whole thing. I appreciate Banksy. I appreciate the artwork. I can also appreciate sometimes the meanings that come behind him. I think they get very politicized, a lot of his stuff. So that can either be good or bad, depending on what side of that particular issue you're on. But yeah, no, he's definitely an iconic figure. Everyone knows him. Most people like him, at least in the, you know, more normal people who just don't work for the government, basically. And yeah, I think he's all right. I mean, you know, why not? He's all right. You need a little bit of artwork every now and again. I wouldn't go as far as him, where you can just put as much artwork up as you want. But then again, I'm not an artist, so maybe I'm just a bit, you know, more subdued when it comes to that kind of stuff. But hey, that's just me. But I appreciate you watching, so thank you very much. And if you enjoyed me just, you know, giving my opinions and all that kind of stuff, then you're gonna like my last video, which is all about luxury brands and how they're manipulating you and me. Okay, if we talk about like Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and, you know, Rolex and all that kind of good stuff, and how they use like really sneaky marketing tactics and shop tactics to basically get us to buy and look up to their brand. And yeah, some of them get a bit crazy. Some of them are genuinely like a bit manipulative. So go check it out. We do a bit of exposing, we do a bit of discussing, and, you know, generally very interesting video. So if you I'm sure I'll see you there. Otherwise, have a great day.